We be rolling.
Alrighty, Life and Grace podcast. Here we are again.
Hi, Brad. How are you today?
I'm good, Troy. How are you? I'm Brad Holman.
Troy Nicholson coming at you.
Just hanging out again, having a random conversation about a little everything, and not really sure again of the direction we always want to go, but we tend to find a course as we roll along. So hopefully that'll be the case today, right?
I hope so. We've had a lot going on. I know we announced unofficially and officially on the Baseball Shed podcast.
Oh yeah.
That you're a grandpa.
That is true. I am not a grandpa yet. I mean, to be December 6th, my oldest daughter is due to have a baby boy.
Woo.
And so we just did that reveal on Friday. So of course,
big deal.
Of course, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
It's huge.
But it hadn't really. It hadn't really sunk in. I, of course, not been a grandpa before, and been a while since I've been a parent with that type of a.
It's different.
Yeah, it is going to be different.
It's going to be different. It's going to be unbelievably cool. It's a feeling that you just have to experience.
Troy's a veteran grandpa.
I have 4 biological grandkids and a couple step grandkids, so I got 6 total.
Yeah,
1 girl in the mix. So they go from 15 down to 2. Officially 2 yesterday. Dawson was 2 officially. So that was cool. It's fun. Hanging out with those kids is a lot different than your own kids.
Well, I keep hearing that, and
I
think the main thing most people say is the fact that the hanging out part is just a temporary thing, and then you get to give them back before they start acting up. Or I'm sure though we're real close to our daughters, so I know that we're going to be spending a lot of time with probably babysitting and doing things, because obviously they work and they're in that stage of life we call the sandwich years where they're getting crushed. So we'll probably help out as much as we can. Yeah,
it's fun when you get to do that, and changing diapers again. You remember all that fun we used to have when we all used to get together at your mom's
with diapers.
With diapers,
every now and then you'd go to bed. You go to bed. You go to bed, and all of a sudden you see what in the world is that smell? Somebody sneaks in your room and places a diaper underneath your pillow. A dirty diaper,
number
right?
2.
So,
number 2 diaper.
Yeah.
Or before you leave said house, somebody sneaks out into your vehicle and puts a dirty diaper underneath
behind your seat or under your seat. Yeah, so we all went through that phase, obviously, where we had infant children and changed diapers, and we shared with each other graciously.
So funny.
It was funny. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know. I don't know who got the worst end of the stick ever, but it was done frequently, and then I was kind of faded out of that phase, I guess.
They grew out. They didn't have diapers anymore.
Yeah, that probably it got worse, wouldn't it?
They got really big. What are you doing with that ladle? I got to get this out of the toilet because I'm going to put it in this bag.
See, you went overboard.
I did.
You took it too far.
Dang it. That'd be gross.
Yeah, so...
I might cut that out of the podcast. That's disgusting.
We were having a little talk, Troy and I, the other day about just the toys we've had as kids. And I thought, the one notable toy that popped up that me and my brothers spent countless hours playing with was that my dad built us a AFX slot card track with the Tyco train track that was intermixed and actually had one piece where the train track went through the car track. And we took those cars apart and we cleaned them and we, bought extra parts for them and, interchanged all the tires, and it was just the neatest hobby. And we did it. We did it for a long time as kids. Anyways, I was digging around the other day and found my old cars. So they're probably from the 70s, I would guess.
Yeah, probably from the 70s. We had a set too growing up. We had a train. We didn't do the intermingling of the tracks. That would have been cool, but
Well, it probably tore our toys up a little quicker though, because I mean sometimes you just didn't stop for the train.
Yeah, no, that's the fun of it. Why? That's the only time you could do that safely. Let's just run the sucker over and see what happens. But you did bring up, you were talking about those cars quite a while back, but you brought up the smell.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get that little motor, like I guess it's probably you get oil on the motor or the motor starts to burn out or whatever. And there's that really distinct smell of like burnt metal. It's like an electrical burn. Yeah, so I remember that specifically.
Oh, because when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of almost, it's right there. You could feel it right in the front of my brain. I could smell it.
But kind of a fragile toy, you know. I wouldn't recommend that for, I don't know, if you know under 8 or 10 or so, because I mean the parts are very small and the cars are very intricate. I mean, you have to kind of understand the way they work. And anyways, it was fun. It was a good time. And, you know, we had other things that, you know, just aren't around anymore that we were discussing. And, you know, that was just one of them. But you could actually control the speed of the car with the way.
And that sound.
Yeah, that's right. And it had, you bet, you got it. And then, my brother Brent always ran the train. And Brian and I were always racing on, and then Brandy was younger, so she probably never really took part in that at that time. But anyways, it was a great memory, and I think it was pretty much at one house, because when you pack that type of a toy up and move it, it usually ends up not
something's broken. You can't put it back together.
Very fragile. Yeah. But no, it was fun.
Yeah.
But how about you? Do you have any toys you remember as a kid that kids just don't really play with now, besides the slot cars and trains? And I know we had you remember trackball?
Oh yeah, we played a lot of that.
Yeah, it was like an extension of your arm. It was a cage, and the cage had a perforated runway, and you had these plastic balls. But when you threw them, it really accentuated the spin of the ball.
Yep.
And when we were young, we did the trackball stuff a lot, and it was so vivid the way the ball moves. They have these balls out today that have similar qualities. I don't know what they're called, but kids are playing backyard kind of wiffle ball with them, and they can really make them curve. Anyways, that was what we did with the trackball, and I think as a young man, you know, looking back, I think I really learned kind of a lot about the dynamic of like the physics of a pitch as it travels to the plate, and how to create a certain effect. You know, watching the spin and how the spin affects the baseball. Yeah, so we learned how to spin the ball with those things. I thought it was looking back, it was a pretty cool learning experience.
Yeah, we did that too. We are, you know, we've mentioned before, I grew up, you know, right here next to you. Before you owned this property, my cousins owned this property, and my great-grandfather owned this property. But we grew up to 5 acres right next to your original 5 acres, and it was a sticker patch. So we played that track ball in our front yard or sometimes in the fields. And if you didn't catch it, the ball, even though it was kind of a hard surface, those stickers would still grab a hold of that thing. It was ridiculous. So that if you go pick it up, you usually had a sticker in your hand, or you'd leave said sticker and then see, you know, if you can whoop it across and see if it'd stick, or we do just something stupid with it. But we did those track balls all the time. We actually played tether ball. My granddad set up a tether ball pole and stuff in our backyard, you know, and then we did the normal basketball. We had a basketball hoop back there.
Well, hang on a second. You got a good time. Tether ball. I mean, I guarantee you there's a large percentage of people that don't know what tether ball is.
Yeah, some of them, maybe the young ones, if there's any of the young kids listening.
The pole with
it's just a pole with a long, with a
not really a volleyball, a little heavier than a volleyball-esque
ball on it that had a little rubber. Oh, I don't know. You don't want to call it a hook.
And the goal is to get it to wind all the way around the pole.
Tied to a rope.
And
I don't know how long that rope was. Or
3 or 4 feet. You go one way and they hit it back the other way.
You just try to see if you can get it to spin around in the direction that you're moving, and while the other person's trying to get it to go back.
You know what
I
remember about that game? Short people weren't very good at it.
You just sing. You just get it going on a different axis. They can't even touch it. They be jumping up.
It's terrible, but it's true. That's an advantage tall guy on that
Absolutely.
game.
It was fun. And, you know, when you're playing your little brother, you try to smack him upside the head with that ball. just for fun.
Yeah,
the hardest you could.
that's a game that you just don't. I don't even know if it exists. It might be extinct.
I don't know. I know that's out there in places, but I don't know. I haven't seen it. Not that I've
the
been
only
looking. I haven't
places
seen
it-
it for sale.
It's probably out there
It's
in
there.
parks that were
Yes,
designed or
older.
built in the 1960s or 70s.
Yeah, some older
that
parks.
still have their old tetherball pole there. But
Yeah, that was fun. But we did that in our backyard, and then we mentioned doing other things like throwing objects at one another for fun.
Everything.
Just about anything and everything. We had a fairly large garden growing up. My grandparents had. I mean, we had to move irrigation pipe around physically because we had a well, a big pump on it. So we'd have to pick pipe that was probably close to 6-inch pipe that we would move around, and he'd get his sprinklers in different areas. But nonetheless, that was fun, running up and down in the garden with the sprinkler running. Did a lot of that. But as tomatoes, we didn't eat them all because they would just be so plentiful.
sure.
You get a tomato on the
Couldn't-
ground that
so you
was
had fights,
semi-rotten, and we'd pick those things up and just lay into one another with those.
And
That was
tomatoes, I mean, they hurt.
They will hurt, especially if they're not quite.
It's got some weight
soft.
to it.
Yeah.
And, we had some fights with some things that were painful too. Crab apples, which
Yeah.
would get, I don't know, an inch maybe around, hard enough to where when you threw them, I mean, they stayed pretty straight and true.
Yeah, but they also get pretty big too.
These ones were we
had the
had a
small
tree in our front yard, and
little
I guess
crab
it must
apple
not have
one.
been fully mature, but they weren't giant. But yeah, they were hard as a rock though.
Yeah.
and so we did that a lot. And then BB gun
Yeah.
fights. You hate to admit to that, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Stupidity.
And we were very fortunate that we didn't get hurt, but
Nobody died.
well, I
Or-
did get hurt. I did get
got hurt like crazy.
Well, my brother shot me in the. I had one stick in my head that we had to pinch out, squish it out. But
Yeah.
but we padded. We wore these pads, packed
Oh.
our clothes full of pads, and we got into the wood. We went into the woods, and we
Man.
wore safety glasses. And
I never wore safety glasses. That's how stupid we were.
well, the worst part of my situation when we did it was in the woods. So it was me and Brent generally versus Brian, and
Yeah.
Brian was the oldest, and he had the CO2 semi-automatic BB gun.
That sounds like Brian.
And me and Brent, I had the cock daisy BB gun with the arch
Worthless.
in the BB,
Yeah.
and then Brent had the pump gun, but he could only pump it 2 times, I think. Anyways, we couldn't get off.
Which makes a lot of sense against the guy with the CO2 cartridge in hit.
Right.
You can
Right,
only pump
so-
that twice.
Anyways, no one got their eye poked out, and it's amazing that no one got hurt worse than me just getting a BB in the back of the head. But I mean, same as paintball, just it's
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
Real life,
paintball,
I
I
guess.
guess, leaves welts. They get stung that way. But they wear a lot of safety gear when they go to a legit, which we have one just down the road, not even a mile from your house.
it's a big
paintball.
attraction during the weekends.
Yeah, a big paintball facility here. And I know a couple of guys at church today said, "Hey, Troy, 12:10, we're going paintball. Be there." I'm like, I can't go. Not today.
12:10
Today.
the time or
12:10 today. Be there. Paintball. Like, hey, I can't just go because
And you could imagine showing up to that deal, right? You've never probably.
Never
I've
played
never played
paintball.
it. I've never
Never.
played it. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I did laser tag once.
Did that.
And
Silly.
it was when I was with the Rangers, and in spring training we did this bowling festivity thing, and then they had attached to it this laser tag thing. And we all go in there. Well, so I'm not kidding you. It was maybe 10 minutes into this. It was like a 30-minute session or something. I'm behind a wall laughing so hard that I can't breathe. I'm going trying to catch my breath. I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm running around. I was probably
I'm a grown ass man.
Yeah, I was a grown ass man. I was probably 45, 48 years old. I don't know, but I was out of gas. I mean, 10 minutes into this, like, I was like, I'm going to die in here because there's no way I'm making it 30 minutes. And I just kept getting shot. It's like, who in the hell is shooting me, for God's sakes? I can't. So, anyways, that wasn't a very good experience, except it was just funny.
Yeah. I'm sure it
I
was
was
hilarious.
brutal at it, though. I was too big of a target, I think. Too
Well.
small of a space.
Well, I think the target is the same size,
Well, that's where the short person
Right.
gets the advantage, right?
maybe. Well, yeah, they can move quicker, maybe too.
Oh,
Maybe.
little short, fast people.
Short, quick little stinkers. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
there's some
anyways,
of that.
there is advantages to different sizes
Yes.
and different
Oh,
environments.
yeah,
There's
they
no
can
doubt
crawl
about it.
around and hide. You can't physically see them as well. Maybe.
Hey, I can get low.
You can get low.
If I have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
But once you're low, how
I'd
quick can
probably
you
get
not be
stuck
low?
there for a little bit. Just to go, hang on.
Because I'm me. I'm like, oh, I
Wait
got
for all
3
the
points
mayhem to
dance
stop,
get
and
back
then I'll
up.
get back up.
Yeah. So
anyways,
we
but
played laser tag a little bit.
Yeah, I
couple
mean, it was
times when I was
fun, but it
younger.
wasn't really one of my childhood,
No, that's-
toys. It was just an experience, I guess, that popped in my head when we were talking about those BB gun fights. But
Yeah.
we had a lot of activities outside. That's the one thing I think was the most notable, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, kids today still play sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I remember being outside all the time. I mean, we made up games and we played, kick the can was there, but that wasn't probably one of the more popular ones. But we played all kinds of games outside, especially with balls and throwing stuff at each other.
We would see who could, we'd just slowly, like with a baseball, my brother and I would just slowly back away from each other and see who could throw it the farthest. Do those things a lot. We used to go grab walnuts because we had some walnut trees and things around here. We'd go grab walnuts and we'd basically tee them up and hit them with golf clubs.
How far could you hit
that.
those?
Far enough to go from my garage at the house and hit a car driving by where I had to run. Oops. And
I was
said,
just
ping.
I was kind of just kidding. I thought they
Yeah.
probably would have
Oh.
exploded into nothing.
Sometimes they did, depending on how
How
old they
fragile
were.
the
Yeah.
walnut was.
some of the older, the young ones didn't break apart, but
You're talking about
they
young
get an
walnuts,
outer
right?
walnuts. They have an outer coating on them, so you have to peel that apart, and you get to the hard shell in the middle. Almost sounds like a candy. What is this?
Well, it's got that good green. I remember a walnut
you got
fresh off the
stuff
tree's
around
got
it.
that green. It's like a
These-
soft, pithy.
Yeah, my granddad
Peeling kind
they
of a-
would pick these, and in our garage they'd have this big area, kind of like the top of your bar here, but longer, and they would just dump all these walnuts out on it, and they
What did you say
basically
the first
dry
time?
them. I don't know what I said.
Oh,
Walnuts. I don't know what it was.
Well, the walnuts.
So they had all these walnuts out, and then they would just basically dry them or whatever, and they would turn black. The outer, that they wouldn't be green when you would finally
Before
take
you
all that.
like peel it off.
Yeah, and you get all that off of there, and then bust those inner shells apart. Real exciting stuff. But
Well,
we would take those, throw them at each other. We'd hit them with golf clubs. And then when we were really bored, we would go up in the haymow in our barn, open up the door, and my granddad or myself and my brother, after we cleaned out stalls, we had a big pile of manure with, all the hay and all that. And it'd be a nice little pile that could get, maybe 3 feet tall. And we'd just jump out of that onto that pile of manure.
Oh,
Just
that
just have
doesn't
fun.
sound fun.
It was fun though. You're like free falling. It's not
Yeah,
wasn't
but
that
you
high.
end up in a pile of manure.
Was it like wet?
Oh,
Wet.
so
wet.
it doesn't stick to you or anything.
No,
Just-
not too bad. And then we, come up behind a cow, and you'd find a semi-fresh cow patty, just to where they had a nice little hardness across the top, and then you'd pick that up and throw that at one another.
yeah.
That's the fun we used to have, kids, that these people are missing today.
Well, I got to tell you, I had a throwing poop experience as a kid,
Gross.
but it was me and my brothers were always seemed to be involved, and a group host of our friends. I would guess there was 10 of us, and we would go in the backyard, and we had these little styrofoam coffee cups, and we would pack them full of dog poop and put cellophane over the top of it with a rubber band, and we had these poop bombs. Well, we were all baseball players too, so we would hide on the sides of whatever thoroughfare and wait for this car to come by, and it was on, right? So this big white van goes by, and it was perfect. It was like a blank canvas, and it was so boom, 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 boom. You hear all these poop bombs hit the side of this thing, and it screeches, and we take off running, of course. And we're in the neighborhood of our own homes.
Oh, your own, yeah.
So I don't remember exactly where I run, but I do remember that the guy ended up knocking on our door, the door of our home. So my dad answered, and I don't know the full gist of the conversation, but I think he probably knew
Did
it was
something.
us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the guy went away and we never heard anything about it. So I don't know if dad stuck up for us that particular day, but he wasn't always like that. There was other times where I remember Brent and I was telling you the other day, stealing the tire caps off cars because the cool
The
ones
valve
looked really
caps.
good on your bicycle, Yeah, the valve stem caps.
Yeah.
So we had a whole, those AFX cars, a whole AFX box full of these tire
A
caps.
lot of caps.
And my dad found them, and he was kind of a greaser from the 50s and
yeah.
worked in it. So he knew they were valuable, and he was always a mechanic, so he knew, and he was so mad at us. He's like, this is stealing. This is where we didn't realize the capacity of what we were doing,
Right.
but we probably had hundreds of dollars in tire caps just because we wanted our bicycle wheels to look cool. And they look cool.
They look cool. They had some chrome, nice, cool
Lots
looking
of them.
stuff.
There's these bolt-shaped ones. There was these ones called fingernails that looked like these little cone. They came to a cone. They were
Oh.
just chrome. And
Ooh.
well, there's some people
You
that
guys are
some people
specific.
really decorate their vehicles.
Yeah.
And we were just hellion little kids, always out on our
Uh-huh.
bicycles. And there was a local grocery store, and we would patrol the parking lot. And then we'd do 2 or 3 of us were lookouts,
how
and
many did you get?
the other guy would go around and get all the bolts off the tires.
Gosh, darn it.
Which, yeah, I mean, it was looking
Dumb.
back on. I'm not proud of it, but it's
Yeah.
it's what happened. And
That's what you
there
did.
was there was
Not
I
knowing
got to
any
be honest
better.
with you too. When I was really really young, we would kipe some cigarettes, not cigarettes, cigars. Can you say kipe? I can't say that.
Kipe?
Steel.
Steel.
Kipe. That's another word for steel, right? And anyways, we would go to the grocery store and help ourselves to cigars, and then we would go behind the grocery store and smoke.
man.
This is me and my brother, one of my brothers. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but this is what we did. And I was probably
50-50 shot. Somebody's going to get it right.
I was probably 10 or 12. I mean, 10 or 12 years
Smoking
old behind the
cigars.
grocery store smoking cigars. So this is like, then my parents got divorced. I was 13, and then
Yeah.
I really had no parental supervision. So, anyways,
Goodness.
we
Yeah.
occupied our time.
Well, yeah, because there wasn't anything to do inside.
Right. We
You know,
we
there
didn't
wasn't
have video
anything
games.
to do. Yeah, and that's the difference of society or the world today as we've progressed with all this technology, which has been a good thing. And I think there's obviously some negatives to it. And some of the negative to it, the reason a lot of the kids don't go outside, and I heard somebody say this today, actually, the reason we went outside is if you didn't go outside and hang out with your friends, you're going to miss something. You're going to miss some kind of an activity. Where were you yesterday? We rode our bikes and we went through and we found this dead animal and we poked it with sticks and we did this. Where nowadays, if they go outside, they're going to miss something because they're on their little phones, they're on their social media, they're playing games with each other in opposite homes. They might be across the city and they might be across the street, but they're inside playing those games. So if they go outside, they're going to miss that. And a lot of our neighborhoods really just don't have the kids like they used to, maybe in the same age groups. So they don't play together. But, I say a lot of kids don't go outside, but at the same time, like, my daughter, Haley and Derek, they've got, Pax and Marley and Braylon and now Dawson, but they've got a nice little neighborhood where I'm not even sure how many kids there are, but they all go outside. They make them go outside, which is a nice thing. And they ride their bikes up and down. They're playing football in the street. They're hitting balls into the net. They're having a blast. But then they also, when they do come in, like Dawson's birthday party they had a little more than a week ago. What's up, Cat? They all had their phones. They're sitting around the dinner table, 4 of them. There may have been 5 of them. They're all on their phones playing some game as a group where they're chasing each other. I don't even know what kind of game it was, but they're like playing tag on their phones. So that's the difference. I think of a lot of it. So good or bad, but we had a lot of fun being outside.
Yeah, I think
Is
that was
where I
our
was going.
preference. I mean,
Yeah.
again, like that's a great point. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if the neighbor had a bunch of bicycles sitting out in front of his house,
You knew what was going on.
yeah, and you probably wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and like you just mentioned, nowadays, all the action's hanging out in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I think that gets missed with that is obviously the running around and real life experiences,
The risks.
like you talked about a minute ago. I don't even
Yeah.
know the dead animal poking it. I can remember countless times just turning over some kind of a carcass and seeing maggots. It's like, oh, that's nasty, but it's also very, very cool.
It's an experience.
Yeah, it is an experience, and I guess not everybody is fortunate enough to live in a place where they can get on that kind of a venture, but we were as kids always, or had moments where we were out near a creek or something like that where we could explore a little bit. But the times outside though were the best memories. Just thinking about, I don't think we really had any inside stuff either. I do remember a bunch of baseball cards, having baseball cards and spreading them out on the floor, and Monopoly. I remember some hairy games of
bad
Monopoly
weather stuff to do.
That's right. When you couldn't go outside.
Can't go outside. It's pouring down
or
rain,
it's too cold, snowy, or whatever.
Yes.
You got to stay inside. You figure out, what am I going to do inside? Yeah. But the inside stuff was completely different than the outside stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we would do stuff in the winter. We'd go outside and, build the big snow forts and do the snowball fights. And you need to squeeze your ears tighter.
I tell you what, man.
Squeeze your ear tighter.
It's not my ear.
It's not your ear?
No, it was my hand, actually. It did kind of rip on my ear a little bit.
For those that are just listening, he's just losing his headphone ear, whatever.
Yeah. Anyways,
right. So
sorry to interrupt.
We'd go out. It's all right. I interrupted myself. I didn't have to say anything. So we'd go outside and we'd play in the snow and we'd freeze our butts off because a lot of times we didn't have good gloves. We didn't have quality clothes. We just layered up as best we could. And then we'd also, right across the street from where we're at right now to the west of us, were these 4 little ponds. And they were actually fishing ponds. Back when I was a kid, they stocked them and you could go fish and you'd have to pay, if you did it properly, you'd have to go pay the guy, Leonard, or Larnard. I forget how to say his name now. He's no longer alive. They don't live over there anymore. Anyway, doesn't matter. You would pay him by the pound of fish for fishing in his pond. Well, there's 4 of us that ran around, my little brother and 2 of my best friends, Kirk and Kent. We would just sneak over there anytime we wanted to and swim through those ponds and fish sometimes. And we didn't really take any fish, but we'd just have fun. Or if it was freezing during the winter, all those ponds would freeze over. In one particular winter, oh my gosh, we were probably 12 or 13 years old. And there's this bloated dead catfish in the ice. And it's down in the ice about 6 inches at least. And we're out there trying to chip that ice away, trying to get to this dead blood. I mean, that's what we did for entertainment. And my buddy Kirk was this huge martial arts guy, and he loved samurai swords. And he had this broken samurai sword, like the handle was broken. And he's chipping, just going at this stupid fish, trying to get it. And his hand slid off the handle and went all the way down the blade and cut through his fingers. Luckily, not all the way through his fingers, but he just had blood going like crazy. So we're just being dumb. He just stuck his hands down on the ice and went back to chipping away, and we finally got that big bloated catfish out. But that's what we did that's like an hour and a half of our day.
All right.
Just doing, dumb things like that. And that was the best. I mean, I'm 55 years old, and that was, over 40 years ago, and I have a vivid memory of it.
That's funny. We spent, I can tell you like little stories like that they're just similar, but maybe with a different story, like those little green army men. We spent hours with those, but with our BB guns, we would set up these camps with these little green army men. Yeah. And so we would do it about 15, 20 yards apart. And we would have BB guns and firecrackers, and we would be able to do a flyby and drop over a firecracker on someone else's encampment. And we also had like a bottle that we would fill with water. And so if I was going to fire at my brother's encampment, I would get to strategically place the bottle wherever I wanted. Then I could shoot the bottle and the water would do the damage, not the actual BB. So we did it with firecrackers and we did it with BB guns. And so it was just, and of course the water, and it was just a blast. But you spent hours there setting up your encampment and creating barricades and ways to hide your little guys, and so each one of us, we'd spend hours doing that, and then we'd just tear it up with our BB guns and our firecrackers. But it was incredible entertainment. And we did the same thing with anthills.
Yeah.
How many ways can you decimate an anthill? We had magnifying glasses where we would. How many things do you burn with a magnifying glass?
Burn a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing how hot those little things can get. Yeah,
it takes a while, but it'll go.
Well, but when you're on an anthill, you got to get pretty good with that thing, because they all, we had a line. We draw a line in the dirt, and okay, we can't let these ants cross this line, but you know what else we can't do? We can't back up. So we would get our magnifying glass and we would start going, and all of a sudden these ants were charging us, and sometimes we'd have to retreat, but it was hours and hours of fun. And we did it with gas. Well, not a lot of gasoline at that age, but
now you're getting crazy.
I've seen the gasoline here on my property, because that's what we'll do, is pour a little gasoline and light it, and then you start seeing them come up out of the hole into the fire, and they create this little ant volcano, which I don't know if that's a appealing thing to people, but it's a good way to get rid of ants.
We don't want PETA on us.
PETA protects ants.
Isn't that what the A is? Probably not. No. Who knows? Somebody's up in arms about everything all the time.
Well, everybody's going to be mad at you. Isn't that amazing? It's we're
can't
going to
say
segue into this, aren't we?
Yes.
It's like people are mad about everything that isn't what they believe. It's like, who cares if somebody does something you don't believe or don't find, attractive, or even if you're offended by it, just whatever.
That's you.
Go the other way. Disassociate, whatever you need to do. But there's no reason to lambaste someone in the media or on a social network of any kind. I mean, it's just like, just let people live their lives.
Well, I think a lot of that is, maybe they were picked on too much when they were a kid.
Trying to get revenge.
You know what? I'm going to keep anybody else from having any fun because I wasn't allowed to have any fun. It almost feels that way, but I know it's a heck of a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more issues, and it's not just that. But sometimes you just want to look at them and go, you didn't get smacked enough when you were a kid.
It's just ridiculous.
What is your deal? Why do you got to be a bully?
Why? That's what it is. It's bullying.
Why are you being a bully?
That to me is the worst character trait of a person.
Yeah.
Is when you take advantage of someone else because they're weaker in physical stature or intellect.
Yep.
And then you mistreat them because you can, and that's sad. And that's what happened. That's what's happening a lot of times right now in a lot of arenas, social media included, and people just want to complain all the time. It's just like, what's the use?
They want to say something because there's not a whole lot anybody can do about it, because they are wherever they're hiding in their little space, just typing on a computer or on their phones, and they can feel like they're just bulletproof sitting there, and they can say anything they want, attack you in any way, and tell you what a piece of junk you are for believing what you believe. And at the same time, they're spouting all their junk, but you're not allowed to say anything about what you believe.
Well, I think it's been kind of, for me, I know where social media is concerned, obviously not this podcast, because this is just who we are. So, I mean, turn it off if you don't want to watch it. But, I don't get into a lot of conversations on social media about politics or religion or, anything. I kind of try to use that as a means of keeping track of old friends and maybe sharing photos and experiences that, keep people updated on what you're doing in your world. And so I like that aspect of it, but just to get on there and debate with people. I mean, I don't have that kind of time in my day to do that. And it could be wasted. I mean, I could see where it could be productive too, but it's just like, there's no face to face, and because of that, something gets lost in this whole communication thing. Because in a real conversation, when you're having a face to face conversation with somebody, and you say something that's really offensive, there's going to be a potential altercation, where there's not going to be no physical or altercation on Facebook or whatever forum you're on. So point is like people have a tendency to be emboldened because they're saying these things without worrying about potential consequences. So maybe that ought to be the check, is like, if you won't say this to my face, then maybe you ought to not be saying it.
Yeah, people should have that, and that they absolutely don't. But then it does spill out into real life, and then there's plenty of videos, if you watch social media enough, where people think, well, I could still say anything I would on social media to this person, and then the altercation starts.
Right.
And then
I can't believe you accosted me. Well, you can't say that to somebody. Yeah.
Oh, man,
I mean, not everything is just can be overlooked. There's some things you say to somebody that are, heinous enough to where it's going to anger them and make them want to fight you. And then. So those words to me are just as bad as anything else. So you can't just say whatever you want to somebody. And when you get thrashed because you say the wrong thing, don't be surprised because somebody touched you or physically accosted you, because you were mentally accosting them, and that's just as bad, and it's not valued as much. But it's unfortunate.
Yeah, the consequences for that are, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to go into it, but that's one of the reasons I quit posting stuff like what you're saying. I mean, because I used to do it, presidential stuff or whatever. I mean, start posting, what an idiot this person is. Maybe I just say something. I wouldn't necessarily get in a debate about it, but sometimes if somebody said something back, maybe I did fire back, and then I finally realized this is dumb. I'm not going to do this anymore. So now if I post anything you go back and look for quite a while on my Facebook if you wanted to, and I try to post things that are more positive and encouraging, or somebody that, hey, think about this in this way. So I try to do that. I mean, in my mind, that's what I'm doing. I mean, some people might find it dumb, or they may find it offensive still.
Well,
and I'm okay with that, because they, if they actually listen to it, maybe they're going, well, I didn't really like that, but then maybe they're going, I didn't think about that though.
All right.
Maybe.
But I think it goes back to intention. And that's one thing that's different from what you just said versus some of the other stuff going on. Because if you're on a social network and you're trying to be an encourager, you're trying to embolden people to, walk through their day feeling good about themselves. I mean, what a great problem to have if somebody finds fault in that. If that's the worst thing I'm doing pretty good, man. So the point is like, who's really the one with the problem, and your intention in doing that is not to offend someone. No. When I guarantee you that there's many cases of people saying things with the intention of offending someone.
Tons of it.
So that's the difference, in my opinion, is what the intentions are, and too many people are barking at things that had zero ill intent.
Yeah.
Zero ill intent. And there's no reason for them to bark at that stuff. They should, if it's not bothering them, then why not just leave it alone? And if it's bothering them,
why?
What is it about someone's differing opinion that makes it so hard for you? And I just ripped my ear things out again.
You're really good at it.
I'm gonna have to quit talking with my hands when I got these things in.
That's the funny thing is, it's not funny. The crazy thing is, I could post something that has to do with Christianity. I'll post my morality on Facebook, and that's a lot of what I do, and I'm going to keep doing it. But you can find people that are so disgusted by it when it's just saying how we should live and how our quality of life ought to be and how we should treat one another. But how dare I post my morality on Facebook and for everybody to see? Meanwhile, as you know, and we won't go deep into it, turn on the TV and you find all this so-called morality of others that I find offensive. So
there is no doubt a huge amount of double standards.
Tons.
And it's really easy to look at someone else and say, hey, here's what they're doing. But I think people need to spend more time looking at themselves, and saying, okay, this situation happened, that situation happened. What could I have done different? Because bottom line is, I can't change everyone else. I could change myself. If I have some fault in whatever situation's happening, then I want to be able to be man enough to be accountable to that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is there's going to be times where I'm not. There's going to be times where I'm going to stand up for what I believe, because you know what? I'm not here trying to offend anybody. This is my own belief system, and you can't deny me that. This is what I believe, and I've had it tested and tried, and I still came out on this end believing what I believe. And unfortunately, not everybody believes that, and I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't make me a bad guy.
Doesn't mean you have to shut up.
No, absolutely not. But I'm also not going to spout at the mouth. But if I do say anything to someone, it's probably going to be more along the lines of, I want them to feel the same hope that I have.
Right.
I want them to know that. I want them, the people that I especially love and like and are near and dear to, is like, eternity is going to happen. So it's like, where are you going to spend it? That's how I look at it. So, I'm not out here trying to necessarily convince everybody to believe what I believe. At the same time, I kind of wish everybody did, because
our job's not to convince. It's just to get it out there. Give them the idea, give them the, here's where you go find it. Open up your mind.
Supporting information's always good.
But it's not our,
No, we can't.
which, kind of goes back to something else you brought up today. As a Christian, that is our purpose, to be here, right? That's one of the purposes that we have.
Well, that was a good word.
Right?
Well, purpose, I think, can be, again, dependent on what your beliefs are, right? So what's your purpose?
Yeah.
Mine, I think, is to, it's scriptural. It's to grow closer to God through a relationship with Christ and become more and more like Him daily, and to try to share that good news with other people. But that is an encouraging message. That is not something that's hell, fire, and brimstone. It's like, hey, you guys better do this or else. Now, that's probably something each individual needs to ponder, though. Is like, hey, some point in time you're going to die, and if there is something that happens afterwards, are you prepared for that? And whatever that means to you. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to believe.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I wish I could remember his full name, but Penn from Penn and Teller, the magician. Have you ever seen?
I know
really tall.
Yeah.
He's a really tall guy.
Yeah.
And then Teller's this little short guy, shorter guy. I don't think he's really short, but he's shorter than Penn, because Penn's pretty tall. He has said multiple times that he's an atheist, and I think he still is an atheist. But I did see a video of his that he put out. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I might have this story just slightly off. But he's like, okay, as a Christian, you believe what you believe. And here I am, and you know that I don't have that same belief, but you won't come and tell me that there's a train coming, barreling down on me, and I'm standing on the tracks, and it's coming closer and closer to me, and you're just going to stand there and not tell me to move?
Right. Well, that's the message, right? It's not, you know, it's like in the old days, you know, in the Old Testament. There's so many accounts of, you know, civilizations being decimated because they turned from the ways of God, and you know, one notable is Israel. You know, old Israel, and the book I read was called The Harbinger, and a harbinger is like a prophecy, I guess. And anyways, the last harbinger, he talked about how those old citadels had, you know, the center of the city had these walls around them, and there was always a lookout on top of the wall, and that you know, when the enemies approached, the lookout would blow the horn, which was not nice if you're sleeping or you have a baby sleeping or something like that. It's offensive to hear. But the point was that even though you don't want to hear it, don't like to hear it, you need to hear it because you need to prepare yourself for whatever might follow. And I think that goes hand in hand with what you just said. It's very good analogy. Is like, it's not always, you know, it's not always nice as a Christian. It's sometimes laborsome to, you know, not laborsome, that's probably the wrong word, but it's maybe a little scary to tell somebody about Christ, because I don't want to ever make somebody bitter to it, you know, or make somebody, you know, turn a deaf ear to it just because of some approach that I took that was unappealing, you know, because to me, that's not what Christianity is about. It, you know, I think if you look back at the time of Jesus and you read those stories of his time here on earth, and you start to realize, like, people were attracted to him. They flocked to him. They didn't run away from him. So, you know, as a believer, I think that's kind of the gist of what we should do is kind of live an image of Christ as best we can. And the closer you go to him, the more he shows up in your daily routine, the more people see it and notice it. And so we become ambassadors, we become disciples. We're hopefully in the meantime transitioning into mentors and discipling people ourselves. But more than anything, I think our purpose is to try to glorify God through our lives and try to tell other people about him. And that's it.
And as we do that, like you said, it's not our job necessarily for us to convince anybody, but we also have to remember when Christ was walking on this earth with his 12 guys and the group of people following him, he also sent them out 2 by 2 and to spread the word and do this. But he said, but if you come across people that basically shun you and don't want to hear anything that you have to say, wipe your feet of them and move on.
Move on. Right.
So he's saying you're going to come across people that don't want to hear the good news, and that's okay. You gave them the opportunity to choose. We have the, you know, that right.
Yeah, that's right.
And good or bad, you decide. And if you say no, hey, yeah, God bless you anyway.
You know, though, we live here in Kansas. I was just thinking about this. We're talking about the horn and the opportunities that we have. And what you just said was spot on. And then I started thinking about how many times have you heard a tornado siren in, you know, every
Had
Monday.
some go off about a week ago, I think, right?
Yeah, and then every Monday at noon they test it. But when you hear it enough, you start to kind of become desensitized. You go, oh, that's just a test.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with car alarms. You know, if you're nowadays you're in a grocery store, you hear this car going off, you're like, man, I wish that person would do something about that. No one ever goes and checks to see if his car is actually getting broken into, you know?
Yeah.
So the point is there, you know, therein lies the problem. Maybe it's just like, it's such that horn, you know, being blown, and you know, in the Citadel is like who disregards it and who heeds it, you know. And so that's just what you were saying, is when we're sharing that with someone, we're essentially blowing God's horn, right? Tooting his horn.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to listen.
They're not.
Some people are going to be appalled by it, probably.
They will, disgusted and upset with you, and they may become violent. That's the crazy thing. Here you're just saying, hey, there's this, you know, God that loves you and his son, and then you come across I hope that you're coming across in a loving way and just saying, hey, I just want to let you know about this. And then so many people come back angry. And I've seen so many instances on video where people get so angry because there's a guy preaching in the street. Get that message out of here. We don't want to hear it. Like,
You know what's funny about that?
why?
How about this? Like it's pretty evident in the Bible. It says that God cast Satan out of heaven.
Right.
Old angel Michael, right? Who
Kicked him out.
kicked him out and put him on the earth and gave this to him as his dwelling
Yeah.
place, footstool, and Satan was
Him and his
to rule.
angels. Yeah.
Yeah, so he took, I think, a third of the angels with
Something
him.
like that. Yeah. Well, he was the guy over worship too.
Yeah, of the
Yeah.
music.
He was it.
So he's sent here to earth to rule, and as dominion, his job is probably to simply kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
So what blows my mind is what you just said,
Yeah.
is when you share God or share Christ with someone, they get offended, or somebody dies in a family and someone gets offended, or something goes wrong and someone gets offended, their tendency is to blame God.
Yes.
Why doesn't anyone blame Satan?
Yeah.
When it's what's been written, it's the most evident piece of the puzzle. And God wants us to all be successful and
Yeah.
live lives. But I think he also knows that we're growing through the trials we deal with because of Satan. He allows things to happen. He doesn't test us. He allows Satan to do things because he knows that in the end, through it, we're going to become stronger and closer to him.
Yeah. I mean, he gives us that free will to believe in him or not, like we were just discussing. All right. I mentioned already, our choice is yes or no, to believe and have that faith in Jesus, not in anything else. And when we have it, you feel Satan, I believe, so much more. For the main reason is Satan wants to take that faith away from you. He wants to take that feeling of love for this, Jesus that he obviously despises. And when you don't profess and you don't say, I have this belief, and you're just living this life on earth, you probably don't feel Satan.
No,
But he's
because
still
why does
there.
he need to
doesn't mess
pursue
with you.
something he already has?
Yeah, he's like, I got this. He's not even trying to
Right.
go after, the promised land here. He's not even trying. He's comfortable right where he's at, working his little job, watching his, mundane TV, and
You bet.
just living this
So
earthly
don't you
life.
think Satan might provide those people some
Just-
amenities of the world to appease them so they don't
Keep 'em
need
happy.
anything else?
So-called
like
happy.
God, right?
Yeah,
So, there's a lot of schemes, I'm sure, that
Yeah.
there many that are more intricate than we can even fathom.
don't even understand. Right.
Right. So I think inevitably it goes down to purpose.
Yeah.
What we were talking about earlier, and like, what is your purpose? My purpose is to live the life we just described.
Yeah.
And but if you don't have that purpose, I'd be interested to know, like, what are other purposes?
What do you
I mean,
feel?
is
What
your-
your purpose is?
Is your purpose just to have fun until you die? Is your
Right.
purpose to
Make as much money as you possibly
yeah,
can.
die with nothing, or maybe you want to leave a lot to as a
Well,
Like-
exactly. You want to have your legacy.
right.
You want to be not forgotten. You want your name there for years and years after you die.
Well, hopefully your legacy isn't as a result of some physical will that you
Well, I
leave
mean-
to your family, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, if you can
Well,
leave
to a degree.
something to a family member,
Oh
and
yeah, you can help them.
help them get through,
But-
the beginning times in their world, their lives, which are hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to become an adult.
Yeah, but it becomes a problem when it was only to glorify you by doing it. Whatever that was, that your purpose you
Right.
thought was here, if it was just constantly to glorify you as that ultimate thing in your family's life or your friends' life or people you didn't even care about, you cared that they knew who you were as this actor, as this millionaire, as this whatever it may be that was held up above. You know, people can take so much and just look at me.
Right.
And then if that's your purpose, man, you're missing out.
Well, maybe the question isn't what is your purpose. The question might be who is your
Where's
purpose.
your purpose? That's a
So
good
I
one.
mean, like you just
good
said,
one.
if your purpose is to constantly provide for yourself,
Yeah.
you know, glutton or money or whatever it is, pleasure. If you're constantly providing for yourself, then I mean that kind of purpose doesn't even make sense to me. I mean,
Well, I guess if you don't have a belief that there's anything after this life, I guess that is okay in your mind. You're like, when we die, we die. There's no other reason. So if you have that purpose, then why aren't you just going out there killing and stealing and taking anything and everything you want?
right, because there's no consequences,
No consequences
after death anyway.
No, and if you can catch me, catch me, and if not, you know, I'm going to take what I want.
Well, that's where it becomes the wild kingdom, you know, survival of the fittest, the lion den, you know,
Yes.
where every man for himself. You got to figure out where to get your next meal, but you know, heck with treating your fellow man with dignity. So purpose to me can take on a lot of different meanings for different people, but to me it's a pretty simple word, and I think without it, you know, what is life, you know, without purpose? I mean, people
ultimate.
just wake up in the morning and they do this routine.
Yeah.
They brush their teeth, they take a shower, they go to work, they come home from work, they watch the same program. You know, there's no variety, and to me, that's not purpose. I mean, that's just this
Barely
living.
Existing.
Yes, existing is a good word.
And that's it, existing. And I've been to that point where I was really probably just existed and did that for years and didn't have an ultimate purpose. I ran from a purpose that I was aware of. So I'd say in my 20s, I existed, you know, and then glorified myself in so many ways, you know, trying to get attention for myself, whether it be at work or, you know, at the bar, singing and doing things, you know, just to glorify myself and let people, you know, absorb all the reactions if, you know, they thought I sang well. Did that for a long time and fell short.
That could be purpose, right? To be liked. That could be someone's purpose.
Yeah, but it's a very selfish purpose. And when we have a selfish purpose, I don't think it's fulfilling. It's not sustainable, and it's not truly fulfilling because there's a difference.
Well, I think a purpose of wanting to be liked,
Yeah,
versus a purpose of wanting to be loved.
yeah,
I think being loved is worthy of, you know, pursuit.
it's a huge difference. Yeah,
Yeah, but just getting people to like you because you sing good or because you're good looking or what have you, those people when the push comes to shove aren't going to be there.
yeah. Well, it's pretty easy to lose your voice. You can't sing anymore. Where's your purpose now? It's, you know, as we get older, you know, we start getting wrinkly, we start getting fatter, obviously, and we lose some of that attractiveness. So then, where does your purpose lie?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that's why so many people turn to plastic surgery, and you know, they try to keep their looks for as long as they can because that's been their purpose, that's been their idol, and I can't let go of it. So if you don't have that belief inside of your ultimate purpose that we talked about in your belief system in Jesus and the salvation and all that, everything else just falls short and will dry up and die.
Yeah, it's going to be unfulfilling. I mean, it might be temporarily
Very
gratifying.
temporary.
There's times where, you know, you put on a nice set of clothes and went, you know, wow.
We sometimes still look good.
Yeah, I don't look too bad. but for the most part, you're right. It's definitely on the decline.
Oh,
And I'm okay with that personally. You know, I'm going to embrace getting old. I think I'm looking forward to it, and because I don't think my purpose is going to change based on my age. Not anymore. I
Right.
mean, I think it did when I was younger, like you. I had
Yep.
I chased a lot of different purposes, and I found some of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really. It wasn't a very fulfilling one, but yeah, we won't elaborate on
Yeah,
any of
good
that.
enough.
But the point is like purpose is deeper than that. The purpose carries on a deep
Yeah.
caricature where it defines you. What are you for? What do you stand for? What do you believe?
Yeah.
What motivates you to get out of bed every morning? What motivates you to take care of things, bills, family, animals, pets, property, whatever it is? Well, the littlest things. And I mean, there's people that get so bent that they just quit like bathing, and
Yeah.
brushing their teeth and don't get out of bed. And it's like that only hope for that person is to, obviously you're going to have to change the way you think or what you believe in, because what it is that you're presently dealing with or going through, it's not going to work in the long term. You just can't function in life like that. So you got to figure out a way to deal or cope with things. And how nice is it to know that we have a God that's bigger than all of us, and
Right.
He's gonna, pretty much have our back, and not that we're gonna be rich or what have you, but I think He's gonna provide, and that's pretty much a biblical guarantee.
Yeah.
If you're a believer, so
Yeah. Our needs, it's not our wants. That's where we have to stop and think about. We had to have those conversations every once in a while with the kids. Hey, I really need these new pair of shoes. Do you? You really need those?
all right.
It's I know you want them. If you need shoes for a certain sport activity, then yeah, that's a need to a degree. But we
We have a lot of first world problems here. don't we?
lots of first world problems. We have to stop and remember that there's people running around barefoot in other countries, like
Right.
all over the place. And
Or you see these videos
Sad.
where they tie smash a 2-liter bottle and tie it
make
to their
shoes.
feet so they can walk,
to school,
or wherever.
or
Yeah, the point
wherever,
is
or to,
the point is like they don't go down to the local store and try on a few pair of shoes and
go to
find the right
store.
color and the
How
right
old fashioned are you?
foot. Oh, you got to go to Amazon.
You just go on Amazon, Brad.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
like
have
to try a
go to the
shoe on.
store.
I
I know
got-
what size I wear.
Yeah, you're that guy. You're that guy who orders a bunch of stuff and sends half of it back.
Never. Never. I was telling Brandy today, I need some shoes. I need a new pair of work shoes, but I just hate spending the money to do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to be comfortable though. You
Well,
got
I'm walking
to
on
think that's an
concrete all day.
investment, right?
Yeah, I need
should-
them, but
Have you ever tried the Hoka shoes?
no.
I'm a big fan of the
they
Hoka, the really, really. I don't know if I should be saying that on here, but I like the
can't.
really,
Maybe
really
that's-
comfortable shoes. They're,
Maybe if this gets good, maybe they'll
yeah,
give you
Hoka's
some
a
new
tremendous
shoes.
shoes. Oh yeah, Hoka. Yeah. So anyways, they're HOKA sponsored by. I'm just teasing. Anyways, no, so they're really comfortable, but they're like thick soled, and
Yeah.
they kind of have that little bit of a rock.
I think I've heard you talk about them before, actually.
But then the other
they
running
look
shoe I
weird.
like is New Balance. I'm a big fan of the New
Yeah.
Balance shoe. It's and I'm speaking purely about the comfort, everything that makes a shoe, the look, the comfort, not the brand.
Yeah, it's just how it makes your knees feel after you've been in the darn things all day. But I'm walking on concrete in the warehouse, helping out and doing stuff. I sit on my butt a lot too, but when I get up and move, it's on concrete, and I'll still get 6,000-7,000 steps in.
Sure.
And I'm getting old, and I feel that concrete, so I need a good pair of shoes.
Same thing out in the building. I
Yeah,
mean, when
you're
I'm
on
doing
concrete.
lessons, I'm standing straight for the time I'm out there, usually 4 or 5 hours a night, and standing the whole
Yeah.
time. And there's a thin layer of turf, which has helped a little bit. But yeah, I've had shoes that I couldn't wear anymore out there because of that. So it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's you can tell we're getting old. We're
Yeah.
sitting there worrying about the shoes.
Yeah, at least you're not got those geriatric ones yet.
Yeah, well, Skechers are pretty big. Skechers were the way for old people for the longest time.
Because of Velcro.
Yeah, some of them. I don't know if that they have Velcro necessarily. Maybe they did, but Skechers are supposed to be a really good brand. But for the longest time, that was for old people, and now they've got them. Well, I don't know. I guess they're still for old people.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was just sitting here thinking about it while you were thinking, we're
guess
old.
I'm
Let's
old.
just get it. Let's just get it straight. All right. So we're okay with it. So the point is like, I remember like how I used to put my socks on.
Yeah.
I could stand on one leg and just bend my leg up and
That's
stick my sock on my
Yeah.
foot.
You still can't do that.
Well, I can bend over and get it if I hold my breath. I just can't breathe while I'm doing it. If I'm over my leg, it's like, so I gotta. If I miss my foot one time, I might pass out.
Yeah.
So I gotta get my sock on pretty fast so I can sit up and get a nice breath. But no, I like to cross my legs.
Yeah, I do the same.
And now my left hip, I'm starting to notice like every time I cross, like, dang it, man. Pretty soon I'm gonna have one of those claw things that you gotta
Pull
go
your
to.
sock off,
Yeah.
or just not wear them. Yeah, that's why you're in flip flops.
I'm always wearing those sandals.
You're
I don't
wearing
have to
flip-flops
the
or-
slip-ons.
slip-on shoes. All
Well,
the
that
time.
and then when I'm outside doing stuff,
Yeah,
obviously I don't weed eat or anything that can injure. But if I'm dragging the field or raking or something like that, then my feet get all dirty and I can just spray them off with the hose. So that's
Yeah,
why.
I think
I don't ruin a pair of shoes. That's what maybe you ought to consider wearing those to work.
no, probably won't.
Anyways,
Yeah, so we we went from one extreme to the next on topics tonight.
rando conversations are good though, and I don't. We did talk a little bit about some things
good stuff.
we discussed about potential, toys and the
Yeah.
purpose of our existence and those types of things were
That was
areas
okay.
we wanted to cover, and we get off on tangents, and that's okay. We're
We're just
probably
here.
probably always going to do that, right?
Yeah, we're just here entertaining ourselves and starting to video it. Now we have a couple people watching it, and so that's cool. Glad you all are watching. I got a couple uncles I think that watch this. Uncle Jack, Uncle Harold.
Hi,
Thanks
Uncle
for
Jack
watching.
and Uncle Harold.
They watch. Pax watches every once in a
Pax.
while. Got a grandson.
Yeah.
Derek Fletcher, you watched,
Yeah.
you said. So thank you.
Yeah,
We
Stacy
appreciate
mentioned
you.
it the other day that
Did
she's
she?
been watching.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Stacey Williams.
Yeah,
said she was
Stacey.
listening to some.
Yeah, so it's neat. It's just a
Yeah, it's fun. We had some good
Share.
conversations, and you guys get to listen to them, and we enjoy just sitting here talking about them. We talked a little bit last night about what we might want to talk about today, and we talked about some of it we didn't probably, and that's okay. And but we're going to continue doing this for a while, and I know we keep saying we'll probably bring somebody else in, and we will eventually. Might be bringing in the wives if they want to join us. or
yeah,
something.
that'd be a good start. That way they're on
That's-
board fully.
Yeah.
Not that it's manipulation or anything, but
No.
it's kind of nice to make them feel a part of it, so they continue
Well,
to allow us to do it.
Yeah, they're part of it. Anyway, because I'll take this stuff and go back to the house, and it takes me just time wise. I'll spend
Sure.
a couple nights editing and then trying to get it out on the different places that which I just opened it up. And most of you, anybody watching for the most part, has been watching on YouTube. But now you can watch us on Spotify. It's on Amazon Music. You can listen to it. Spotify, you can still watch. It's got a video part to it as well, or you can just listen to it. But Amazon Music, iTunes has got it. iHeartRadio, you can listen to us now.
Very good. Is there a link? I mean, that
I can put a link out. I can put links on our YouTube for people to look at, and then we'll probably start some sort of I don't know, maybe Instagram or a Facebook something, and to where
that way we can get some
we can
feedback.
post on our own if we want our own Facebook stuff and put some links out, or however we want to do it. We'll figure that out. But we appreciate y'all listening, whatever mode of listening you're on, and like us
Yeah,
if you want.
absolutely.
Subscribe to your whatever it is you're watching us on or listening to us on. And for the most part, we're going to do these probably once a week.
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago. We did the last one because of Father's Day last weekend. Did you have a good Father's Day?
I did. I had a really good Father's Day. Ate
Right.
like a king, and
Yeah.
and the girls came over with their significant others, and we
Yeah.
just hung out and
that's
just had a
growing,
good time. Yeah, it was a very relaxing day. So,
Yeah, mine was mostly relaxing, and at the same time, I was tired when everybody left because I had almost all the grandkids were there, or were they? All of them were there actually. all the grandkids were there. There was like 14 of them, and my mom and her significant other was over there, boyfriend as well. So we cooked like 3 racks of ribs and did some other food, and the boys, my 2 grandsons that are 5 weeks apart, Pax and Ryder, sat out on the back deck, like different areas of the backyard, and shot their BB guns.
Beautiful.
It ties it back in. They love shooting BB guns, so we did all that, and I was tired by the end of the day.
I bet
But
you
it was
were.
a great day.
Well, that was a good reason not to do it last week.
Yeah,
Is a busy Sunday
was busy.
with family and doing nothing. Sometimes it's busy
good.
doing nothing.
Doing nothing, and with the people you care about, and that's goes back to my purpose. And I hope I'm doing better with my purpose than what I did before, and probably not sharing it as much with my kids still as I should. I think this is part of it. I think we decided this might be a purpose for us to get
We'll see.
right? This message out there, and whether it's short lived or not, we don't. When there's no expectation of turning into the next big podcast thing. If it happens, that would be cool. But we may be done with this in 6 months, and if we are, that's fine. It's been fun.
Well, that's right. And people don't have to listen for us to enjoy it. We
No.
can sit here and talk with ourselves until we're blue in the face, and maybe 100 years, all of a sudden, somebody discovers
Hey,
Troy and Brad's podcast.
wow! Look at these
Yeah.
2 old guys.
This is like the same thing as like the Buddha or Nostradamus.
Yeah.
This is
So
these guys were
enlightening.
insightful.
Wow.
They were ahead of their
They're-
time.
they're-
Nobody listened to them at that time, but man, they're
You know
great.
what they used to do to ant hills back in the day?
What's an anthill?
Yeah, there are no ants. Anyway, it was fun. I think we're we done.
I think we're
probably
done. We
I
get
think
kind of
so.
goofy, and it's about time to ring the bell.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking, Brad.
You as well, Troy. Enjoyed as usual.
Yes, sir.
Life and Grace podcast.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for being here. Bye bye.
Bye.